What's an incredibly American thing Americans don't realize is American? Free refills at restaurants. And with ice. Thanking military people for their service. Then not actually supporting them in any meaningful way. Ranch. Back when I worked in Panera Bread, a customer asked for ranch. We didn't carry it back then, and when we informed him, he said, "Are you all communists?" Absurdly protracted election cycles. Election campaigns in the US appear to take a full year, when they typically just last a month or two in most of the countries I've visited. Presidential elections can be closer to 18 months or so, if one or both parties have a hotly contested primary. Daily driving pickup trucks. We do that in Australia too, kind of. American here. When I studied abroad, I was smiling and friendly to strangers. In London they looked like I wanted to steal something from them. Lol. I studied in France when I was in college and lived with a family for the year. Awesome people, but the dad made no secret of his disdain for Americans. I guess it was the mom that must have convinced him to have Americans board with them, because he never seemed too pleased about it. Anyway, one of my favorite quotes from Jax was, "You stupid Americans, always walking around smiling, like a bunch of goddamn idiots." The mom started screaming at him for being rude when he said that to us. Another American was boarding as well, but we thought it was hilarious and made it a point to walk around the house smiling and greeting him with an effusive bonjour, monsieur every day. I think we did win him over, eventually. R.I.P. Jax, may you have eventually found love for Americans in your heart. Close bracket. Paying $10,000 for a live birth and thinking that's okay. After paying $3,000 every year for health insurance. Liberal equals left wing. Yeah, in my country, it is either associated with the political center or with moderate, right wing, never with left wing. Sending Christmas cards with their family photo on it, often with pictures not related to Christmas at all, such as beach pictures. Not making posts about other countries. That's cause there aren't any other countries. Not owning a passport. I don't know if that is a myth, but I hear that a huge percentage of Americans have never been out of the country and don't even have a passport. I understand that the US is huge with a massive range of landscapes and climate, but it still seems a little odd to me. Edit. According to the US state debt, they estimate 37% of US citizens don't own a passport. Edit 2. I'm sure there are plenty of perfectly good reasons for it. It's not a criticism. Edit 3. Today I learned a lot fewer people than I realized have passports. A lot of Americans don't have the money to travel internationally, singing the national anthem at every possible opportunity, even when the event does not involve any other countries. Starting every sporting event with some military flyover or other military promotion. Prescription drug commercials. This was the one I noticed the most on my first trip to England. I was watching Winter Olympics and couldn't figure out what was weird. Then it finally hit me that there were no medical ads. And my family was just like, yeah, they're illegal here. Which, I think is the right model. Making pancakes from the box. Everyone else is making pancakes from scratch. You're right, I didn't know this. Handing your credit card to a stranger, having them walk away, swipe it, then bring it back to like they didn't just put a down payment on a new house with it. Bold of you to assume we have enough money for that to be a concern. Give tips at restaurants. And give even more tips for barber/food delivery/massage. And some Asian restaurants will automatically add 20% tip after tax. Edit. Spelled massage as message. Tips at restaurants or services in general aren't an American thing. An American thing is to got to tip, because it's socially mandatory. Someone paid just to bag your shopping at the checkout. Makes me feel so awkward and uncomfortable just standing there while they do it. Is this an American thing? That was one of my first jobs in Ireland. Pledging allegiance to the flag or singing the national anthem outside of special events. I went to see a kids talent show in a small rural town. There were maybe 8 acts and 30 people watching, and they all stood and pledged allegiance to the flag, and sang the national anthem beforehand. It was extremely strange. It always strikes me as creepy culty. Air conditioning. I'm very surprised no one has said this yet. It's not that other countries don't have heating and AC. They do. but our use of them, especially the latter during the summer, is astronomically higher than anywhere else on the planet, even when compared to other first world countries. American acts are usually integrated into the homes with vents along the walls in every room, but in Europe they tend to be relegated to a single tiny rectangular unit over the door. If you're fancy, then the house may have two of these. The cult of high school/college sports. USHS Sports have nothing on Japan's Koshien baseball tourney. It's broadcast nationwide, daily, for weeks. Everyone follows it, even people who don't really like sports. So much fast food. Hosted a person from Norway for business for 5 days a few months back. That guy wanted to eat as much red meat, sandwiches and fast food as I ever saw. Calling a water heater, hot water heater. Edit, as many commented. This isn't what all Americans call it apparently, but some definitely do. Wait, other countries don't do that? Holy shit. I just replaced mine and that's what everyone here calls it. I mean, I didn't even realize it was redundant until I read this. Mind blown. Driving everywhere. Americans drive a lot. Far more than residents in most other countries. Well, the store is over 15 kilometers away from my house, and then my buddy's house is 25 kilometers in the other direction. Speaking very loud in public places. I think that's the #1 reason American tourists stand out like a sore thumb. Edit, I'm talking about a normal conversation. I get that people get louder when they are drunk or enthusiastic or super happy, but the phenomenon I'm describing here is just day-to-day conversation in a very loud voice. It's like there is a lack of awareness of their surroundings. If no one is talking that loud, neither should you. While this is true, I'm abroad right now, and the tourists from the UK are definitely giving the Americans a run for their money. While I admit the Brits are pretty close with their full English breakfast, the American greasy diner breakfast of eggs, bacon, waffles/pancakes and hash browns is pretty uniquely American. My Italian mother has said in the past that it's the only things she's enjoyed about American food culture. My nonna would be horrified if she heard we were eating fried eggs for breakfast. Edit, spelling, geez guys, it's a freaking typo. Saying whatever in the most condescending/dismissive/arrogant tone. Whatever. Incarceration. The United States incarcerates more of its own citizens than any civilization in history. Why pay employees $15 an hour when you can pay them $15 a week? Can cheese you squirt? Don't call me a squirt. Thinking that anything remotely socialist is communism. A strong focus on how things relate to race and privilege and cultural stuff. Considering the fact that there are people who are still alive from the times when segregation and racism were far more formally instituted, it seems a fair thing to be focused on. Much like how Germans are very conscious of their former World War atrocities, or the Chinese are conscious of their, never mind, drive-through atoms and everything else. I didn't learn we had drive-through liquor stores until later in my life. Flags hanging out front of people's homes. It feels weirdly ominous as a Canadian who travels to the States sometimes just how many homes have the American flag just on a post out front, making cities hostile to pedestrians and bicyclists. I don't just mean car friendly, but actively anti-pedestrian. As in, the only legal route to get to a place 100 meters away being a 1-kilometer detour to find the nearest spot it legal to cross a road, or not having paths connecting downtowns to what little public transit hubs there are. Even people who would otherwise want to walk because it's a short distance find they have to use a car because the pathways actively block pedestrians, bringing God and Christianity into public policy. American Chinese food, like General Tso, orange chicken, egg foo young. There is a wonderful documentary called The Search for General Tso, and it talks about how Chinese immigrants designed this food to please American taste buds. This is not unique to America. Food is always adapted to the local taste. Go to a KFC in China and you'll see it's entirely different from KFC in America. We put jalapenos in sushi here in Mexico, thinking that circumcision is the norm and that uncut guys have smelly dicks. Pledging allegiance to a flag. Dessert for breakfast. Or, as one European friend said, pouring milk over candy in the morning and thinking it's nutritious. Sending party invitations with a start and end time, especially for kids' parties. To be fair, if you don't put an end time on a kid's party invite, the other parents aren't coming back anytime soon. You'll have to keep track of the kids for the rest of the day. I agree though, for a normal party with adults, seeing your country's flag all over the place. Being an immigrant. Almost every citizen of the USA today is directly descended from immigrants. It's a huge part of our national identity, whether a certain portion of our population understand that or not. Dying because you can't afford health care? Asking a complete stranger how are you doing today? Not having to ask for the bill. Bankruptcy caused by medical expenses. Paying $800 for putting bandages plus $250 fee for crying.